Greetings, everyone. I'd like to talk with you just a little bit about our work this last week on the experimental designs and threats to validity, and visit with you about our progress on this next week's assignment, which is our small group exercise on evaluating an experimental research study. First of all, with respect to this last week's assignment, this particular assignment allowed us to build upon our study of the concept of validity, and also to some extent kind of build upon what we've talked about with reliability over the last week or so. Your reports were written generally well, and as has been the case in past weeks, your comments to one another continued to expand our learning together. Many of you in your reports specified a specific experimental design. If you did not, be sure to review the kinds of experimental designs that are applicable to studies in topics 37, 40, and 41. The vast majority of you evaluated a study that was truly an experimental study. In some cases, it was a little difficult for me to tell, however, if your study was experimental or descriptive, and specifying the kind of design really helps us in evaluating the differences between those kinds of studies. Remember briefly that an experimental study is a study that manipulates some variable in the experiment to look at its effect on another variable, or to look for cause and effect relationships. You might want to review our research typology again to look at differences between experimental and descriptive studies. Okay, enough said about the study design anyway. Remember, we also talked about reliability and actually validity in this assignment more. But remember that reliability refers to the accuracy and consistency of performance measures and procedures over time, or in other words, do the study instruments and the procedures yield the same results or consistent results over time. Validity, however, asks a little different question, and validity is really aimed at whether or not a study measures what we really want it to measure, and are the results appropriate. Now, in this last assignment, we asked you to break down the concept of validity just a little bit further into thinking about internal validity and external validity. Remember that internal validity addresses the question of whether or not the treatment in the study causes the required change. External validity, however, on the other hand, addresses the question of to whom and under what circumstances can the results be generalized. Well, anyway, probably enough said about this last week's assignment. Make sure you take a look at my general feedback comments in the Module 3 feedback link. Don't worry if you didn't get it perfectly correct on every measure this time. We will practice, and again, as I say frequently in this course, practice does tend to make perfect. Now, with respect to this next week's small group assignment, I've been following your discussions, and it seems like everyone is off to really a pretty good start. There have been some great discussions in your group discussion boards setting up how you're going to proceed and talking about finding your study. I would caution you again and maybe underscore the fact that make sure that as you locate a study, you locate an experimental research study, not a descriptive study this week. We'll be doing that in another assignment. Again, I think we've mastered most of the technical issues with Google Docs and everything else related to this assignment. Every time when we set up a group assignment, it seems like we run into a few issues here and there, making sure everyone's in and everything's working. But to the best of my knowledge anyway, it seems that everything is up and running at this point in time. Some of you have used Google Docs in the past. Some of you have not. Don't worry. If you've not, and if you're not familiar with Google Docs will allow you to go to a place in the document where you can write and edit together. And with practice, you will find that it works really pretty well. And so I encourage you to continue working through the Google Docs issues. If you have questions about the Google Docs, be sure and let me know. One last thing. Make sure that as your group has evaluated your study and you've kind of used the template to write the study that we've placed in each one of your Google Docs, that someone remembers to post that on the class discussion board, and that needs to be posted by this next Monday Class members are to read those group reports and respond to a couple of those by Thursday of this next week. I might remind you to take a look at the rubric in Module 3 outlining our group expectations, and also the general discussion board rubric for the content of your report and then your replies again on this next assignment. I think that pretty much takes care of everything for right now. As always, let me know if you have questions. Take care and have a great week.